Before I put my name on anything, Your Honor, I'd like to present one final piece of evidence. The courtroom fell completely quiet. My husband, Marissa, was already smiling, that same confident, almost smug smile she'd worn for the last 7 months since she initiated the separation. Her attorney, a 500-hour legal predator named Evan Cross, held the papers out toward me, pen ready, waiting for the signature that would officially end our 14-year marriage. Those pages would hand her the condo, both vehicles, our retirement funds, sole custody of our 2 children, and $3,800 a month in support for the next 16 years. Do the calculation. That's well over $700,000. I was expected to sign. I was expected to surrender. I was expected to leave that courthouse as a man stripped of everything he'd built. That's what they assumed. That's not what happened. Evidence. Judge Harlan Whitmore leaned forward, silver brows lifting. Mr. Reed, you've had ample time to submit exhibits. Today is strictly for final authorization. I understand, Your Honor, I replied calmly. But this material only came into my possession 3 days ago. And I firmly believe the court must review it before any signatures are made. Marissa's smile faltered, just barely. A hairline fracture in the performance. This is absurd, Evan Cross said evenly. Your Honor, my client has shown extraordinary patience. Mr. Reed already accepted these conditions. He can't suddenly. I cut in, if those conditions were built on deception. The word hit the room like a dropped gavel. Deception. Marissa's expression shifted. Confidence to confusion to something dangerously close to panic in seconds. What are you talking about? She snapped. What deception? I didn't respond. Instead, I reached into my coat and removed a plain yellow envelope. Nothing special. The kind you grab without thinking. Inside it was everything. I stepped closer to the judge's desk, my shoes clicking loudly in the otherwise frozen courtroom. My own attorney, an overworked legal aid lawyer named Rafael Torres, who had repeatedly told me to sign the papers and rebuild my life, was staring at me in shock, jaw hanging open. I hadn't mentioned any of this to him, hadn't mentioned it to anyone. Some truths only come out when the timing is perfect. Your Honor, this envelope contains DNA test results for all 3 children listed in this case: Eli, age 13, Samantha, age 10, and Noah, age 7. DNA results. Judge Caleb Whitmore accepted the envelope slowly. For what reason? He asked. To determine paternity. The silence afterward was absolute. I could hear Marissa's breathing hitch. Paternity. She echoed faintly. What? What are you saying? I'm proving, I said evenly, that I am not the biological father of any of the children. I'm being ordered to support. The judge opened the envelope and reviewed the first page. Then the second. Then the third. His expression shifted, tightened. He raised his eyes to Marissa with something that looked like restrained revulsion. Then he spoke the 3 words that shattered her composure. Is this accurate? 36 hours earlier, I had been sitting in a roadside diner near Route 66, staring at the same reports now in the judge's hands. The coffee in front of me was cold. My untouched pancakes sat congealing on the plate. Reality felt distant, unreal. 3 children. 14 years of marriage. My entire adult identity, built on a lie. The private investigator across from me was Frank Delaney. 65 years old, skin like cracked stone. Eyes worn down by decades of ugly truths. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I know this isn't what you wanted. I didn't want anything, I replied. I wanted you to tell me I was imagining things. That the rumors were false, that my wife wasn't. I couldn't finish. The results are definitive, Frank said. Eli, Samantha, and Noah share none of your genetic markers. 0% probability of paternity. All three. I looked back at the charts, the percentages. The clinical language that boiled down to one brutal fact. The children I had raised, protected, and loved as my own were not biologically mine. Do you know who the fathers are? I asked. Fathers, he repeated, nodding, and pulled out another file. Yes. Based on surveillance, timelines, and DNA cross-matching. He paused, then continued. Eli appears to be the biological son of Darren Holt, a fitness instructor your wife was involved with around 2011. I moved toward the judge's dais, the sound of my steps bouncing off the walls of the hushed courtroom. My own attorney, an exhausted court-appointed lawyer named Luis Herrera, who had repeatedly urged me to sign the papers and move forward, was staring at me in disbelief, his mouth slightly open. I hadn't told him about this, hadn't told anyone. Some things are meant to stay hidden until the exact second they matter most. Your Honor, this envelope contains DNA test results for all three children listed in this case. Ethan, age 13, Lila, age 10, and Caleb, age 7. Genetic tests. Judge Martin Calderon accepted the envelope with care. And for what reason, he asked. To confirm paternity. The silence that followed was absolute. I could hear Renee's breath falter. Paternity. She repeated softly. What? What are you saying? I'm demonstrating, I said, that I am not the biological father of any of the three children you're asking me to financially support. The judge opened the envelope and read the first page. Then the second, then the third. His expression shifted, tightening into something cold and firm. He looked at Renee with what I can only describe as restrained revulsion. Then he spoke the three words that shattered her composure. Is this accurate? 36 hours earlier, I had been sitting in a roadside cafe near Highway 8. Staring at the same papers now resting in the judge's hands. The coffee in front of me had gone stale. The toast and eggs on my plate remained untouched. Reality felt distorted. 3 children. 15 years of marriage. My entire adult life, built on deception. The private investigator across from me was named Gordon Hale. 64 years old. Skin worn like cracked stone. Eyes that had seen far too much truth. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. I didn't want to hear anything, I replied. I wanted you to tell me I was imagining things, that the stories were false. That my wife wasn't. I couldn't finish the thought. The DNA results are definitive, Mr. Reed, Gordon said. Ethan, Lila, and Caleb share none of your genetic markers. 0% probability of paternity across all three. I looked down at the reports again, the charts, percentages, and scientific language that all reduced to one brutal fact. The children I had raised, loved, and sacrificed for were not biologically mine. Do you know who the fathers are? I asked. Fathers, he echoed, pulling out another file. Yes. Based on surveillance, timelines, and genetic cross-referencing. He paused before continuing. Ethan appears to be the biological son of Ryan Mercer, a fitness coach your wife was involved with in 2011. It started at a summer cookout. She was 27, striking, with a laugh that made you feel like the world narrowed down to just you and her. I was 33, freshly promoted, convinced I was finally steering my life in the right direction. We dated for 7 months, got engaged, and were married by 2010. Evan was born in 2013. I remember standing in the hospital room, holding him for the first time, tears soaking my shirt, thinking I couldn't possibly be luckier. My son. My first child. The start of everything I'd leave behind. Except he wasn't my son. He was Derek Holloway's child, conceived during those wellness coaching sessions I was paying for. Maya arrived in 2016, my little girl. She had Serena's dark curls and what I believed were my hazel eyes. Turns out those eyes came from Anthony Russo, her supervisor, the man sleeping with my wife while I worked extra shifts to cover her time off. And then Lucas, born in 2019, the youngest. The baby I believed would tie us together for good. Paul's son, my cousin's son, conceived God knows when, God knows where, while I trusted them both without question. I raised those kids. I changed diapers, paced the halls at 2:30 a.m. when fever spiked. Helped with school projects, coached youth soccer. Paid for orthodontics and camps and everything in between. I loved them. I still do. That's what makes it unbearable. They believe I'm their father. They call me Dad. When Lucas skinned his elbow last fall, he ran straight to me. When Maya had her first heartbreak, she collapsed into my arms. When Evan needed advice about a girl he liked, he came to me. None of that was pretend. None of it was a lie. My love was real. But Serena's love for me, that was the lie. And it had been a lie from the very start. The divorce blindsided me. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe I just ignored what I didn't want to see. Looking back, the clues were there, late nights that didn't line up. Expensive clothes I didn't recognize. The way her attention lived on her phone instead of with me. I told myself it was just a phase. 15 years together. 3 kids. Life gets messy. I suggested counseling. She said she didn't need it. Then, in February, she sat me down and said she was done. I'm unhappy, she said. I have been for a long time. We can fix this, I told her. I don't want to fix it. I want out. She already had an attorney, Elliot Graves, referred by her cousin. Everything was ready. Asset division. Custody schedules. Support figures. She'd been planning it for months, maybe longer, and she wanted it all. The house we bought together in 2012, She wanted everything, the retirement fund I'd been building since my early 20s. Both vehicles, our cash reserves, the investment accounts, and sole custody of all 3 children. With me paying $2,000 a month until the youngest turned 18. My attorney, Luis, urged me to push back. She's demanding too much, he said. We can bargain this down. Shared custody. Lower payments. Something fair. But I didn't fight. I agreed to every term. People assumed I'd quit. Thought I was too devastated to resist. Thought I was being selfless, or foolish, or both. The truth was something else entirely. I agreed because I knew, deep down, that something wasn't right. I'd known for years, even if I refused to say it out loud. I ignored how Evan looked nothing like me. How Maya had medical issues no one in my family had ever had. How Lucas carried features that felt familiar, but not in the way they should have. Once I stopped looking away, everything started lining up. Little moments resurfaced, comments, absences. Explanations that never quite added up. And that's when I hired Frank Delaney. I didn't tell Serena. I didn't tell anyone. I quietly, carefully began investigating the woman I had built my life around. It took 8 months. 8 months of collecting proof while playing the role of the defeated husband. 8 months of letting her believe she had already won. And now, standing in that courtroom, I was finally ready to show her how wrong she was. Judge Calderon read the DNA reports once. Then again. His face stayed controlled, professionally neutral. But I could see the shift behind his eyes. The same revulsion I'd felt in that diner. Sharpened by a judge's sense of duty. Mrs. Reed, he said coldly, do you have any response to these findings? Serena was on her feet now, gripping the edge of the table. Her carefully rehearsed calm had collapsed. She looked from me, to the judge, to her attorney, grasping for anything solid. These tests are fabricated, she said. He's lying. He's trying to dodge his obligations. These tests were conducted by Northbridge Genetics, the judge replied. Lifting the papers. A fully accredited laboratory. He continued, voice steady. They indicate a 0% probability that Mr. Reed is the biological father of any of the 3 minor children. That's impossible, she said desperately. He is their father. He's always been their father. Mrs. Reed, the judge interrupted, I will ask you one final time. Is there any possibility these results are accurate? The courtroom held its breath. I watched her, the woman I'd loved for 15 years. The woman I trusted with my future. The woman who had deceived me every single day of our marriage. Something finally gave way. The defiance drained from her face. Her shoulders sagged. I need to speak with my attorney. Your attorney is standing right next to you. Evan. Cross looked like a man who had just realized the ground beneath him wasn't solid. The confident predator was suddenly frozen. Eyes wide, like he'd stepped into a trap. Your Honor, I need time to review these materials with my client, he said quickly. This is extremely irregular. What's irregular, Counselor? Judge Calderon replied evenly. Is your client pursuing child support for 3 children who appear to have no biological connection to the respondent? The judge placed the documents on the bench with slow precision. Mrs. Reed, I'm asking you plainly. Are these children biologically related to Mr. Reed? Silence. Mrs. Reed. No. The word barely made it out. No, they aren't. The courtroom reacted instantly, not with noise, but with shock. Luis sucked in a sharp breath. Evan Cross muttered a curse under his breath. Someone seated behind us made a small, stunned sound. I didn't move. I just watched Serena finally say what she'd avoided for years. They aren't his, she continued, tears spilling freely now. But he raised them. He's their father in every way that matters. They love him. He can't just walk away because of. Because of what, Mrs. Reed? Judge Calderon cut in. Because you committed paternity fraud. Because you knowingly allowed other men, possibly multiple men, to father children and then deceived your husband into believing they were his. I never meant for it to happen like this, she cried. And how exactly did you intend for it to happen? She had no answer. The judge turned to me. His expression had shifted, still controlled. Still judicial, but softened by something beneath it. Respect, perhaps. Or sympathy. Mr. Reed, he asked, what relief are you requesting from this court? I had rehearsed this moment for months. I'd planned every word, every angle. Every way I would dismantle her the way she'd dismantled my trust. But standing there, seeing her broken and thinking about Evan, Maya, and Lucas, the speech I'd prepared refused to come out. Your Honor, I said quietly, I loved those children. I still do. What my wife did to me is unforgivable, but they are innocent. They didn't choose any of this. He nodded slightly. Legally, I continued. I am requesting that the child support obligation be terminated. I am not their biological father. And I should not be held financially responsible for children conceived through my wife's infidelity. Serena made a sound, half sob, half gasp. However, I added, I am requesting visitation rights. Those children know me as their father. Removing me entirely from their lives would only cause more damage than they've already suffered. Judge Calderon studied me in silence for a long moment. That's an unusually restrained response. Mr. Reed, considering what's been revealed. I'm not here for revenge, Your Honor, I said. I just want the lies to stop. And I want those kids to know that at least one person in their lives loves them for who they are. Not for what they represent on paper. The judge nodded once, slowly. Very well. In light of the clear evidence of paternity fraud, the proposed divorce agreement is hereby voided in its entirety. This case will be rescheduled for a full evidentiary hearing, at which time asset division and custody matters will be reassessed appropriately. He turned his attention to Serena. Mrs. Reed. I strongly recommend that you retain legal counsel experienced in fraud-related litigation. The state may elect to pursue criminal charges, and this court will be referring this matter to the district attorney's office for formal review. Criminal charges for lying about the fathers of her children. For stealing 15 years of my life. Your Honor, please, Serena pleaded, panic rising in her voice. I can't go to jail. My children need me. You should have considered that, the judge replied coldly. Before deceiving the men who raised them. The gavel struck. I sat in my pickup in the courthouse parking lot for nearly an hour afterward. I didn't start the engine. Didn't turn on the radio. I just sat there, staring ahead, trying to make sense of it all. I had won, if winning was even the right word. Serena wasn't getting the house. She wasn't getting my retirement accounts. She wasn't getting hundreds of thousands in child support for children who weren't biologically mine. But the kids were still out there. Still believing I was their father. Still waiting for someone to explain why their world had just fallen apart. My phone vibrated. A text from an unfamiliar number. This is Evan. Mom's crying and won't tell us anything. Are you coming back? Back. To the house I'd been forced to leave 8 months earlier. To the place where 3 children who weren't mine were waiting for answers. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. I'll be there in about an hour. We need to talk. The drive felt unreal, like moving through someone else's life. Roads I knew instinctively. Intersections I'd crossed 1,000 times. Everything looked the same and completely foreign at once. What was I supposed to say? How do you explain to a 13-year-old that you're not really his father? How do you tell a 10-year-old girl that her family was built on deception? How do you even speak to a 7-year-old boy when the truth itself feels cruel? I didn't have a script. I didn't have answers. I only had the truth, and the truth was going to hurt everyone. Serena's car was already in the driveway when I arrived. I parked along the curb, took a deep breath, and walked up to the front door. It opened before I could knock. Evan stood there, tall for his age. Already nearly as tall as Serena. Dark hair and features I now recognized as belonging to Derek Holloway. A stranger's face on a child I had raised. Dad, he said, relief washing over him. Mom's been locked in her room forever. She won't talk to us. Maya is scared. What's happening? I swallowed. Let's go inside, champ, I said quietly. I need to talk to all of you. The living room looked exactly the way it had when I still lived there. Same sofa. Same framed pictures lining the walls. Photos from birthdays, road trips, holidays, proof of a happy family. Proof of something that, I now knew, had never truly existed the way I believed it had. Lila sat curled up on the couch, gripping a throw pillow to her chest. Noah was beside her, too young to understand the details but old enough to feel the tension thick in the air. Dad. Noah ran straight to me, wrapping his arms around my legs. Are you coming back? Mom said you're not coming back. I crouched down and pulled him close. This little boy who looked so much like Aaron, my cousin's jawline. His eyes, none of my DNA at all. And yet I loved him anyway. That was the cruelest part. I loved all 3 of them, no matter what the truth was. We need to talk together, I said softly. Can you guys sit with me on the couch? They gathered around me, Ethan on one side, Lila on the other. Noah on my lap, just like we had done countless times for movie nights. Serious talks, and ordinary family moments that had once felt permanent. Is this about the divorce? Lila asked quietly. Are you and Mom still getting divorced? Yes, sweetheart, I said. We are. But something else happened today. Something important I need to explain. Ethan swallowed. What is it? He was trying to be strong, trying to be the grown-up. But I could see the fear beneath it. I looked at their faces, these kids I had raised. Protected, loved, knowing. I was about to break something that could never be put back together. Do you know what DNA is? I asked. It's what makes us who we are, Ethan answered. Like a code inside our bodies. We learned about it in science. That's right, I said. And sometimes adults do DNA tests to understand how people are related. Lila's eyes grew wide. Did you take one? I did, I said carefully. And I learned something I wasn't expecting. Something that's hard to hear. Just tell us, Ethan said. His voice steadied. Whatever it is. I took a breath. The test showed that I'm not your biological father. Not to any of you. Your mom had relationships with other men, and they're your biological fathers. The room went completely still. Noah frowned. I don't get it. You're our dad. I am your dad, I said, holding him tighter. I raised you. I love you. That doesn't change. But biologically, we aren't related. Lila started crying. That doesn't make sense. You're our dad. You always have been. And I still am, I said gently. Being a father isn't just about DNA. It's about showing up. And I've shown up for you every day of your lives. Ethan stayed quiet, thinking. I could see the pieces clicking together in his mind. So, he said finally, voice low, Mom cheated on you. Yes, I said. More than once. Yes, I said. More than once. With different men. The truth settled over us, heavy, unavoidable. And impossible to undo, and she let you believe we were yours. Yes, I said quietly. For 15 years. Yes. He stood up suddenly and walked to the window. Turning his back to us, shoulders rigid. Ethan, I said softly. I'm okay, he replied after a moment. I need a minute. Lila climbed into my lap, Noah right behind her. Both of them were crying now. I wrapped my arms around them, these children who weren't mine by blood. But were mine in every way that actually mattered. Does this mean you don't love us anymore? Lila whispered. No, sweetheart, I said immediately. I will always love you. Always. DNA doesn't change that. Then why did you tell us? She asked through tears. Because you deserve the truth, I said. Because lies are what caused all of this. And I won't lie to you, not ever. From upstairs, a door opened. Footsteps followed. Serena appeared at the bottom of the stairs. She looked wrecked, mascara streaked down her face, eyes swollen. The polished mask she wore for years completely gone. This was the real Serena, the one hidden underneath everything. Daniel, she said hoarsely. What are you telling them? The truth, I replied. Something you never managed to do. They're children, she snapped weakly. They don't need to know this. They have a right to know who they are, I said firmly. And who their biological fathers are. They have a right to the truth. You're going to ruin them. No, I said. You did that 15 years ago when you built this family on lies. Ethan turned away from the window. His face looked older than 12 now, harder. Mom, he asked, is it all true? Serena opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. It's complicated, Ethan. There were things you don't understand. Did you cheat on Dad? He asked. Yes or no? Yes or no, he pressed. Her shoulders sagged. Yes. With how many men? Ethan asked quietly. How many? Ethan, please. How many? 3, she admitted. Over the years. He stared at her. 3 different men. 3 different fathers. And you let him believe we were his the whole time. Serena started crying again. I loved him. I loved all of you. I was just scared. Scared of what? Ethan shot back. The truth. His voice cracked. Do you know what Dad gave up for us? He worked double shifts. He missed his own father's funeral to come to my tournament. He sacrificed everything for this family. I know, she sobbed. And it wasn't even his family, Ethan said. Ethan, I said, standing up gently and setting Lila and Noah back on the couch. That's enough. No, it's not, he said, shaking. She lied to you for 15 years. She lied to all of us. I know, I said calmly. But yelling won't change what happened. I stepped closer to him, my son, not by DNA, but by every memory that mattered. I'm angry too, I said softly. I have every right to be. But being angry at your mom won't help right now. What's done is done. All we can do is figure out what comes next. How can you be so calm? He asked. I'm not calm, I said. I'm shattered. But I learned something a long time ago: anger is like fire. It burns fast, but it hurts the person holding it the most. He looked at me for a long moment. Then suddenly, he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me, this tall, almost teenage boy holding on like he was 6 years old again. I don't care about DNA, he said into my shoulder. You're my dad. You've always been my dad. And you always will be. We stayed like that for a long moment. Then Lila and Noah joined in, small arms wrapping around both of us. And Serena stood in the doorway, crying quietly, watching the family she had shattered choose to hold together without her. The divorce was finalized 2 months later. The outcome looked nothing like what Serena had originally demanded. No house, I didn't want it anyway, too many ghosts in those walls. The retirement accounts were split fairly and legally. No child support, obviously. And shared custody. That part shocked everyone. Including me. I could have walked away. The children weren't biologically mine. I had no legal obligation, no genetic tie. Any attorney would have told me I was insane to stay involved. But those kids didn't ask for any of this. They didn't choose to be born from affairs. They didn't choose a mother who lied or a father who wasn't really their father. They just wanted someone who loved them. So I stayed. Every other weekend. Alternating holidays. 2 weeks every summer. Exactly the schedule I would have had if they were biologically mine. Because in every way that mattered, they were. Serena was charged with paternity fraud. In California, it's a misdemeanor, punishable by jail time and fines. She accepted a plea deal, 6 months probation. Community service, mandatory counseling. She lost her job once word spread. Lost most of her friends too. The women she'd surrounded herself with didn't want to be associated with someone who'd done what she did. A part of me felt vindicated. The bitter, angry part that wanted her to hurt the way I had. But mostly, I just felt exhausted. Tired of being angry. Tired of betrayal. Tired of carrying the weight of it all. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. 2 bedrooms so the kids could have their own space when they stayed with me. Nothing fancy, just clean, quiet, and mine. The first night they stayed over, Ethan helped me put together the bunk beds for Lila and Noah. We worked side by side, squinting at impossible IKEA-style instructions. Messing up, undoing bolts. Fixing our mistakes. Dad, he said finally. Yeah. I looked up. Derek Holloway, he said. My biological father. I stopped tightening a bolt. He's a fitness trainer in San Diego. Owns a gym. Married. 2 kids. His real kids. Yeah. He was quiet for a moment. Do you think he knows about me? I don't know, I said honestly. Your mom might have told him. Or maybe not. Do you think I should reach out to him? I set the wrench down and looked at my son, not by blood, but by every memory we shared. That's your decision, Ethan, I said gently. He's your biological father, and you have the right to know him if you want to. But he's also a stranger who had an Affair with your mom while she was married to me. I paused. That makes things complicated. He nodded slowly, absorbing that. And for the first time since everything had come apart, it felt like we were finally starting to build something honest. Even if it wasn't simple, everything's complicated now. Yeah, I said. Do you think he'd want to know me? I thought about Derek Holloway, a man who'd had an affair with a married woman. A man who either didn't know or didn't care that he had fathered a child. I chose my words carefully. Some men are fathers, I said, and some men are just biology. I can't tell you which one Derek Holloway is. But I can tell you this, I'll be here, no matter what. If you reach out and it goes well, great. If it doesn't, I'm still your dad. Marcus nodded slowly. I don't think I'm ready yet. Maybe someday, but not now. That's okay, I told him. There's no timeline for this stuff. We went back to assembling the bunk beds. The instructions were still hopelessly confusing. We made mistakes, corrected them. Laughed a little, and eventually finished together. 2 years have passed since that day in the courthouse. I'm 49 now, still working at the distribution center. Though I received a promotion last year. I still live in my small 2-bedroom apartment, but I've made it a home. The kids are doing okay. Not perfect, not disaster, just okay. Marcus is 14, navigating high school and the chaos of puberty. He decided not to reach out to Derek Holloway. Maybe he will someday, maybe not. I told him I would support whatever he chooses. Lila is 11, starting middle school this fall. She struggled the most with everything. There was a phase when she blamed herself for the marriage falling apart. Therapy helped. Time helped more. Noah is 8, young enough that the divorce didn't crush him. He still calls me dad without hesitation. Still runs to me when he's hurt or scared. Aaron, my brother, moved out of state after everything came out. Couldn't face me. Couldn't face the family. I heard he's in Portland, working at a tech company. I haven't spoken to him since I found out about Noah. Don't plan to. Some betrayals run too deep to forgive. Serena remarried last spring, the men she met in court-ordered counseling. Ironically. A recovering addict with his own complicated past. I don't know if they're happy. And honestly, I don't care. What matters is the kids. Making sure they know they're loved. Making sure they grow up understanding that family isn't about blood. It's about presence. It's about love. It's about showing up, every single day, no matter what. To anyone who's been lied to, betrayed, who found out the life they were living was built on someone else's deception. You're not foolish for believing. You're not stupid for trusting. You're human. And humans are meant to trust the people they love. The shame belongs to the person who lied, not to you. And you get to decide what comes next. You get to choose whether betrayal defines you, or whether you define yourself. I chose to be a father. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to. That choice saved me. Maybe there's a choice waiting for you too. If you stayed till the end, you know what to do. Share this with someone who needs to hear that betrayal doesn't have to be the end. That rebuilding is possible. The worst day of your life is still just a day. Tomorrow is coming. And you get to choose who you'll be when it arrives.